Hello, everybody, and welcome to the music rating, ranking, and reviewing podcast that we like to call Music Meltdown, which we rate, rank, and review an artist's discography, songs, whatever musical topic or what have you that we're thinking of at the time. Today, continuing, or potentially the first part of this little Beatles dive that I'm doing for the month, where we're tackling Lennon, McCartney, and the Beatles solo, but today we're tackling George Harrison, the often mishandled and underutilized Beatle, if I would say, if you cared about Ringo. But no. Yeah, he is, in my opinion, at least as of the time of the White Album, Abbey Road, probably my favorite writer in the band. I really like this catalog a lot. Most of it was first listens, but most of them were really good for me. I think they're just a consistently really strong artist. But with that being said, Tavi, your prior experience with the Harrison catalog.
Yeah, my experience was 2 songs, so
Nice. I'm
not a lot.
guessing some stuff off Cloud9.
Yeah, the big hit got my mind set on you and Oh Sweet Lord. So the 2 big ones. And yeah, I didn't have a lot of experience, but obviously I really like his Beatles stuff, so I was excited for this episode.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. Cammy.
Yeah, pretty big George Harrison fan. Mostly because I heard My Sweet Lord in high school. I thought it was really cool. And then later in life, well, actually, I was into the Beatles in high school. In senior years, I got into them. I didn't really listen to the solo stuff from any of them until actually not too long ago. I mean, I've heard all things like before, but never the whole thing. And then, past year or two, I got into their solo material, and George's was my favorite by far, and he's my favorite Beatle of the bunch.
Hey, mine too. It's tight between him and John for my favorite solo catalog. I think this one's maybe a bit more consistent, but John has the higher highs for me. But I'll get into that another day. Probably gonna do whenever I do Ringo, I'll probably do a short video in which I just give my rating, my full ranking list for all the albums that I covered by them. But with that being said, I'm gonna kick things off here. We're just gonna go one at a time and discuss all these records. I know that most people would agree on his worst record, but I don't have that quite at the bottom. His worst for me is going to be Somewhere in England. I wanted to like this record a bit more than I did, but to me, there's really not much worth noting on it. Harrison sounds fine. His vocals are consistently good, and the playing as well is always good. I think that George Harrison is an absolute master guitar player, and I know that people do obviously think that he's very good, and his stuff in the Beatles is exceptional. I think that he's just like absolutely top tier, which I don't know that everybody would agree to. The main issue with this record for me is the production. I think it's incredibly cheesy, really just boring, early 80s. The synth sounds on this record are notably really bad. Reminds me a bit of a record that I love, which is the Electric Light Orchestra's Time, but it just sounds way more dated and it doesn't play into the sound as well as it does on that record. And this record does remind me a good bit of ELO, but the hooks and melodies across this just simply aren't as good in my opinion. And the overall instrumentation just isn't as interesting for me. It's okay, and I do genuinely really enjoy the track All Those Years Ago, despite its production. This one's only gonna get 2.5 stars from me. I think it's okay, but not really anything not really worth anything going back to aside from that one track. So Somewhere in England, number 10.
Nice.
Fair enough.
What was the score? Did I miss it? Did you say?
2.5 stars. Like a 5 out of 10.
Yeah. Cool. My bottom is not from the 80s, it's from the 70s, and it's Extra Texture. I think mostly about the Harrison. I do like him, but I was a little underwhelmed for some of his stuff. And well, I think you should a little take my list with a grain of salt, because I listened a lot of this when I was sick, and I guess that doesn't help at all. But and I think a lot of albums just kind of went by, and I listened some of these again, and yeah, there's always something to enjoy from George Harrison's solo albums. I think I like the first side more. I really like the opener with the sax, and just, I don't know, enjoyable and with simple lyrics. And second one, the answers at the end, has I really like the David Foster on the piano, and I don't know, I think this guitar was a single, if I remember correctly, but that wasn't my jam. I don't know, didn't really get that. But then there's the Ooh Baby, which has like this soulful kind of, I don't know, it's Smokey Robinson or who is it trying to do, but I actually like it. It's almost goofy, but I do like it. But yeah, just I honestly don't remember a lot from this album, but like I remember, I think I liked Can't Stop Thinking About You and some of those ballads and all. But yeah, so I'm between two scores, but I think I'm gonna say 2.5 for this. It's a decent, like a mediocre album, but maybe I should listen to it again, because maybe I'm underrating it a little. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
my number 10.
I don't think that you're really underrating that one too much. A lot of people typically have that towards the latter half of his list. Maybe not dead bottom, but I mean, that's how you hear it.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it either, but I have it a bit further up. Also not a fan of Somewhere in England either, but again, we'll get to that fairly soon. But my bottom is 1982's Gone Troppo. The history behind it is more interesting than the actual album, and even that, it's not that exciting. He just didn't want to make it, and he was forced to under contract. And you can tell this album is it feels like he had a gun to his head and was like, hey, have fun now. And you can tell this is the most like artificial fucking like feel good type like party album, I guess, that I've ever heard. It's just so stupid. I hate the way it sounds. It's got this goofy like, old dude on the beach type thing going on, and I don't think it works for George. I'm not saying he can't do like, cool summertime like beach music, because he has before. Actually, he has before this and since this, but this is like the worst of those. The little 4-minute song called Grease is pretty good, and Mystical One. I like those. Those are probably like the more, I guess classic George type sounds. They're not amazing songs by any chance, but they're the only ones on the record I think have some of that George Harrison type talent on them. And even the song Circles near the end's pretty good, but everything else, ugh, it's just it sounds really like the production's kind of goofy. His heart's not in it, and it tries too hard to be like fun, but it's just really dull and not that exciting. I'll give it like a 4 out of 10. A couple fun tracks aside, some good instruments. The sound's not my thing. The songwriting's not to write home about either. It's just very dull and not very stimulating, both intellectually and on a lizard brain entertainment level. It's just Ugh.
Yeah, that's gonna be my number 9, Don Troppo. But I think I like this record maybe a tad more than other people do. 'Cause I don't really get why it's like people are so vitriolically just pissed at this record. Like George committed a war crime or something on this. But no, it's fine. For the most part, it's a solid match of pop material. He's not reinventing the wheel, and it's generally a pretty standard 80s pop affair. Some of my favorites were Wake Up My Love, That's the Way It Goes, and Mystical One. I don't know. I don't think that there's anything really too remarkable to say about it. I think that it has a better utilization of synth in comparison to Somewhere in England. I have the 3 stars. It's decent, but I don't really get the like fucking iron fist that people give this album. It's not that bad. 3 stars.
Yeah, I'm also going to the 80s now. My number 9 is Somewhere in England. And again, like I don't know what's it with me with George Harrison. I also think like I really invested in the first half, and then I'm like I don't remember the other half basically. But there's like I really like the opener, Blood from a Clone. It's just full of joy. Life itself has a love the solo in the end, and then there's the song about Lennon, which is all those years ago. That's a good one. And honestly, my favorite one might be Teardrops, which starts the side 2. Just a fun and catchy tune. But yeah, I think Writings on the Wall, I think that's a decent ballad, but not one of my favorites. And yeah, just I don't know, I'm just a little underwhelmed here. But I don't know, it's sorry, I give it 3 stars. So it's a decent still. I like maybe half, and other half I almost don't even remember them. But that's how it goes sometimes. So that was my number 9.
Cool.
Yeah. I have to go with Tavi on this one. My number 9 is also Somewhere in England from 1980, whatever. This album's biggest sin. Excuse me. It's pretty boring. Most of the songs on here don't really have any interesting lyrics or instrumentation. All those years ago is pretty good. I'll give George that. It's a nice little tribute to John, but still nothing that exciting. And Teardrops and Writings on the Wall is pretty okay too, but everything else, not great. Blood from a Clone's a weird one, and Save the World, or is that the song about the whales? I think it is. Yeah, there's a song about like whales or dolphins on here. Like, it's like some generic like environmental hippie crap. It's bad. It's not good at all. It's very sappy. Like I can handle sappy. You kind of have to if you hear a solo Beatles song or a solo Beatles record period, but I have a limit. And yeah, the song about fish was my limit. But yeah, just a pretty dull record. That's kind of my problem with some of these George pieces. At worst, they're just boring. Like obviously, he makes great stuff. Well, made great stuff. He's obviously not making stuff no more, unfortunately. But yeah, he's made good material, but the problem was a lot of it is just horribly mediocre. And it's a shame. Not a lot, but like a good chunk of it. But I guess it makes the really good stuff even better. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, Somewhere in England, not much to say here. Just a boring record that goes in one ear, out the other. Not much to really, you know, not much to really grab onto here. It's like a 5 out of 10. It's whatever. It's listenable. That's about it.
Yeah. Alrighty. Glad that we all kind of have a general grasp of the bottom here. I think this one might be a little higher for somebody here. Maybe not. I don't know. I hear people like this record a decent bit, and I do too. I have the self-titled George Harrison record. I don't think that there's a ton to say about this album without revealing my thoughts on the previous records, but I think it's a pretty delightful yet inconsistent pop rock record with some high highs. My favorites are Love Comes to Everyone, Blow Away, Faster, and Dark Sweet Lady. How about 3.5 stars? Um, I feel like this record and a few that came just before it, they're all kind of in a similar vein. It just sort of comes down to which tracks you tend to prefer, and I prefer the ones on Extra Texture and 33 and a third personally. So 3.5 stars.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I have the Judge Harrison self-titled next. So George is back after all the lawsuits and whatever was happening with the My Sweet Lord, and but I feel like I think he got married or something. Like this is his happy album, or if I remember correctly, and yeah, there's just plenty of like I do like I think I will also give it a 3.5. I do like this album. It's got a catchy opener with Love Comes to Everyone, and I think most of the openers I really like from George, and then there's the Here Comes the Moon with the title, familiar title kind of, and I like the chorus of that. Then Blow Away, I like the hi-hat work there, and like there's not, honestly I don't think any of these songs are bad or anything. Like they're all very fine to listen to, but I think there's sometimes problems that there's sometimes not too many that stands out. Like I enjoy pretty much most of these, but like yeah, so yeah, it's a pretty album, and I do like. It's kind of hard because I like most of these productions, and like there's plenty of great session players, and also it's like they know what they're doing in a way. So yeah, but it's a good album. 3.5 for the self-titled album. Cammy,
Thanks.
you're up next.
Thanks.
All right, the placement of that record kind of hurt me a little bit, but you know we'll get to that later. It's all good. My number 8. Is this number 8? I think it's number 8. It's 8. Whatever. My next pick is 1975's Extra Texture. It's a bit better than the other two. There's some good stuff. I like the opener You. That's not bad. Oh Baby's not too bad either. It's kind of neat. And this guitar, probably my favorite song on the record. The rest of it, it's okay. It's just kind of a bit more like morose and kind of like, what do you call it? It's kind of a downer, to be honest. I don't know. It's not a very. I like Happy George. I like when George is, has a bit more. I like it more when he's either like kind of happy or a bit more like introspective and soulful. I think he tries the latter on this, but I don't think it lands very well, in my opinion. Some good guitar work on it, and some decent songwriting at times, but it doesn't really grab me. It's like a 6 out of 10 for me. It's fine. There's not a lot to say about it. It's just kind of there. But I'm not crying that I heard it. I think it's all right, but I've heard better from him, and I know he can do better because he definitely does coming up soon. But yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's not bad.
Yep. Alrighty. I'm gonna be talking about that one real soon, but firstly, sorry. Another one I think might be a little bit higher, but I'm not sure. I have 33 and a third. I think this is a solid record across the board. Pretty similar to Extra Texture, but a little bit smoother, I would say. He seems to be aiming for a bit more of a pop, more of a soft rock feeling on this record. And for the most part, I'd say he succeeds. Similar to Extra Texture, though, I think it's pretty hit or miss. I'd say the highs are slightly weaker, though. Despite that, I just adore Crackerbox Palace, one of my favorites by him. Probably the most overtly Beatles he ever went back to, but it's just really, really, really great. Woman Don't You Cry for Me and the closer Learning How to Love You are also great. Yeah, 3.5 stars. It's a really, really good record. But I just think that it's a little too inconsistent for me to get it into like an 8 out of 10, like a 4 star record, but very strong.
Yeah, I also have it next 33 and third. I I noticed there's also a smaller number of musicians used in this one compared to the other previous ones, and yeah, I also really like the opener, "Woman Don't You Cry for Me." I like I think it's clavinet that's really on top of the mix, and there's an interesting sound going on, and it's kind of funky and upbeat. Really enjoy that, and um, I like this song. It's about it's kind of like a more funny song about plagiarism, and there's like cool Harrison's guitar lines there, and Billy Preston is on front of the mix with his piano and organ. That's a cool song. Also, It's What You Value. I like that. So it has a couple of sax solos, and I love Alvin Taylor on the drums. Like, I think it's one of his first albums he's been on, if I remember correctly. He will play on Elton John and multiple others later. But yeah, I like the closure ballad. Like, I was kind of waiting for something like a bigger ending there, but it never came up. But I'm kind of fine with that too. But yeah, it's again 3.5. It's a good album. Like, it's like I have a little trouble what to say about these albums. Like, kind of similar to others, but yeah, I do like it. My I don't even remember what is number 7. This was 33 and third. Yeah.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, George has the problem of kind of similar sounding, kind of dull records. But when he's on his horse, what I say? When he's on his horse, he knows what he's doing. He's a good artist sometimes. But
Occasionally. He
yeah,
has his moments.
yeah, mostly. But this one is, I think, is when at least by in regards to my list, this is when he gets he gets back on the right track. I think this one's pretty decent. Mine's Dark Horse from 1974. I think it's I think it's good. It's not one I go back to a lot, but when I hear it, I'm not complaining too much. So Sad, Bye Bye Love, and Maya Love, pretty good. Pretty good tracks, to be honest, and they flow well into each other, I believe. The title track, probably the best song on the album, Dark Horse. I like it. I think it's quite good. And Far East Man's pretty solid too. I kind of like the whole vibe this album gives off. I think it's a nice sound. I like when George goes more with the Hindu Indian thing, because he's usually pretty good at it and it feels genuine. Like on this song called "It Is He," or Jasri Krishna, I think it's how you say it in Indian. I'm not too sure, but yeah, that's a good song too. This is like a 6.5 for me. It's decent. I think it's fine. It's not one I go back to a lot, but I'm not, bored out of my mind when I hear it. It's just, solid George. He does do better and he can be better, but this is a nice little, I guess, middle ground type thing. It's okay. It's definitely better than the last few that I mentioned, but I still don't think it's not quite there yet, but we'll be there soon.
Yeah, that's probably our biggest disagreement so far. I have that one a decent bit higher, but for now I'm talking finally about extra texture. I think it's good, but definitely his most flawed record up to that point, I would say. Struggles to gain a lot of momentum track to track, oftentimes having a pretty strong highlight followed by just a okay or decent song. Despite that, the highs on this record are very strong for me, probably comparable to some of the stuff on Living in the Material World and Dark Horse. Ooh Baby, World of Stone, Can't Stop Thinking About You, and Gray Cloudy Lies all being my favorites on here. Well, as a full record, I don't think it's necessarily very remarkable, and you could definitely skip this one. I do think it's a pretty good listen, really enjoyable, and you can. I feel like George is one of those artists where you can kind of just throw on any of his good records and have a good time with it because he's just so consistent in his craft. He like rarely makes a genuinely bad song, I would say, even across those 80s albums. Very few songs I would legitimately call poor, more so production that ends up harming them. Despite that, 3.5 stars on extra texture. My last 3.5 stars. Everything moving up is at least an 8 out of 10 for me.
Nice, nice. My next one is another one where you have to take this with a little grain of salt again. Like I think people like this more than I do, and I need to give this another chance too. Like, but my number, I also forgot what we're talking about. Number 6, yeah, number 6 is Brainwashed, the newest one, and yeah, I do like the production. This is 2002. Like for this time, for 2002, this is a really awesome production. Also, like I think the problem for me is that I'm looking at these titles and they don't say anything to me. Okay, some of them does. I love the closer Brainwashed. It's a more than 6 minutes, and I remember being quite epic, honestly. And I like the opener Any Road. Marva Blues was the instrumental, and yeah, there's like a kind of album that goes by. Like I like the playing. Like in a way, not a lot of big problems. I have the problem. I just don't seem to remember a lot of this stuff, except when we're getting higher. Like it's in a way like good if you don't remember. Like maybe there's a reason why, um, but yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3.5. But yeah, I need to listen to it again so I can be sure of this because I wasn't quite sure where to land this album, really. But it's my number 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that, but we'll get to it when we get to it. But I respect your your criticisms of it. I think it's a good record, but I don't mind where you put it, even though I
Yeah.
disagree with it.
Hmm.
My number 6 though, is it 6? Is actually quite decent. I enjoy this one as well. Definitely the best of his more low end records. Actually, it's not even low end. I think it's quite good. It's 33 1/3 from 76. Yeah, this is he was kind of in a slump by this point. I mean, you heard extra texture, you heard Dark Horse, kind of middling it, to be honest. But this one, he's back on the train. I think he does good work here. Woman, Don't You Cry for Me, pretty good opener. Dear One, A Beautiful Girl, also quite good. This song, not really crazy about. It's one of the more popular ones on the record, but doesn't really do it for me. And of course you got the big hit, Cracker Box Palace. Yeah, that's a good one. It's just really fun. And he sounds like he's having a good time on it, which you can't really say about some of the last few records we talked about, but no, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I like the production. Some of the songwriting is pretty cool, and I like the playing on it. It's just a nice vibe. Like you can't really be in a bad mood when you hear it. It kind of just it's nice and fun. It's like a 7 out of 10, 7.5. Not too bad. I think I definitely put this on again one of these days. Again, nothing crazy. It's not gonna change your life. You're not gonna you're not gonna come out feeling cultured or enlightened. But you know what? It's good. It's pretty solid Harrison, and it's only better from here. At least I think so.
Yeah. All right. Well, you might not, but I'm having a good time with that record. So actually, no, I forget. It's a good record. Yeah. Cool. All right. I know this one's going to be higher for Cammy. Would assume it's going to be higher for Tavi. Talking about Cloud9 now. And to clarify, I think I'm higher on you guys already, but on this record, but I like it a lot. Cloud9. This is where my fandom of one Jeff Lynne is going to take over for a bit. This is George's big return after stepping away from music after Gone Troppo, and he became very close with frontman of ELO, Jeff Lynne. Or maybe they already were. Who cares? His influence is all across this album. Production, just really incredible, reminding me a lot of his record Armchair Theater, and almost like a prototype of the Traveling Wilburys. Sorry. And the material George came back with is also just very good. Title track is great. That's Why I Take is awesome. Just for Today really works, and my absolute favorite on here was Devil's Radio. I do think that there are a couple of missteps, though. The biggest example being When We Were Fab, probably the only song that I would say that I actively dislike in the catalog. I think that one's just really poor. And I do think Wreck of the Hesperus, however you say that, is a bit mediocre. And despite those songs being below par, the production does make me want to keep listening to them. I have this one at a lower 4 stars. I think that's really strong, very good, 8 out of 10. But I just simply prefer some of his other material. Very good. 4 stars.
Yeah, I have that a little higher, as you said. And my number 5 is an album that everyone hates, Gun Troppo from 1982, number 5. And yeah, I know he probably his heart wasn't here when he made it, but I think it's a fun album. Like I would play this on a beach. Maybe not with company, but they would look at me like what. But perhaps it's calculated in a way, but yeah, just Wake Up My Love, another fun opener. I actually love the synth. It's dated, but I don't know. I get a kick out of dated synths, and that's the way it goes. Really like that. Really Love You is a cover song. It has this doo-wop style, and there's some odd vocals there, I have to say, but it's kind of fun. But yeah, there's like Grease. It's an kind of instrumental, and I don't think we really needed that, but it's okay. But honestly, one of my favorite George Harrison songs is Dream Away. I love the female backing vocals to that, and that's just a lot of fun. I'm saying all the same things, all like fun. But you know what? That's It's usually my cup of tea. But yeah, there's like I know like people don't like this, but like there's plenty of awesome musicians here playing, and like I don't even mind the production here. I know it's not the best, but I do still like it. And yeah, I'm gonna give this 4 stars. It's a very good album.
Yeah, fair enough. Pardon my hair, by the way. I forgot to comb it this morning, but anyway, I'm sure y'all didn't notice. Nah, y'all noticed. Anyway, moving on. My next album, my number 5, I think. Yeah. My number 5 is the recently mentioned Cloud9 from 1987. Yeah, best part about it is the production. Jeff Lynne's on it. He sounds great. I'm gonna agree with Adri there. The production kind of carries it, but you know what? The songwriting's pretty solid too. I like the opener, Cloud9, which is also the title track. Pretty good song. I love Fish on the Sand. Kind of a surprising album or surprising song. I didn't expect it to sound that cool, but it just did. This Is Love I like a lot as well. That's a fun little, nice romantic pop song. I really like When We Was Fab. I love that song. It's fun, kind of, and it's like fun but kind of sad at the same time. I don't know. I think it's cool. And the music video is pretty neat too. You can see Ringo in it. You can see I think Jeff Lynne's in it as well. Yeah, it's a good song. Devil's Radio I like as well. I like a good chunk of these, and but the biggest hit on this album was his cover of "I Got My Mind Set on You," and yeah, that's a good song. Who doesn't like that song? It's chill. It's a fun little pop tune. And but yeah, not much else to say about it. I think it's pretty good. 8 out of 10, I think, for me.
Nice.
Crappy album cover aside, it's it's really bad. The actual content on the record is good stuff.
Yeah, as much as I really like Harrison, I will admit album art isn't exactly his forte, especially past Dark Horse. The art not exactly great. I think 33 and a third is okay, but past that, not ideal.
Yeah, a little. He's got some cheesy ass album covers.
Maybe I shouldn't say that because most of them are just him. So it is what it is. A number 4 record you talked about a while ago, talking about Dark Horse. On his third attempt for me, I think George really showcases how he was really at a certain point like a key member to the Beatles. I think without him, songs just simply wouldn't have been as good because he's excellent. Primary thing to comment on here is the guitar playing. It's just insane across this record. It's the reason for me to listen to George across these first couple records. His playing is just sensational. His voice on this record, I hear a lot of people kind of say that's deterrent. I think that it's really cool. I think it sounds almost beaten down, a little bit broken up, but it lends up to a unique element, and I really love that. To the writing does take a bit of a step down, admittedly, but I didn't care as much because I just think that his guitar playing is insane. On songs like Harry's on Tour, Dark Horse, and Far East Man, those were my favorites. Have it at 4 stars. I think that it is very.
Okay, yeah. My number 4 is I think most would have this maybe number 2. I don't know. It's the Living in the Material World is my number 4. I don't know. I think one of the problem is listening All Things Must Pass, and then this is the next one. I think kind of it's a more softer album, more spiritual, or I don't know more, but equally at least. And it's a pretty album. Don't get me wrong, and it's pleasant and more low key perhaps. And I don't know. For me, I'm a though missing some rockers that were in All Things Must Pass, or bigger pop moments, even like, I don't know, pure pop. And but it's a good album. I think the hit was the opener, "Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth," that has soulful vocals. I like "Sue Me, Sue You" blues. I like the piano fills, and Jim Keltner is in plenty of these albums, that he's an awesome drummer. He has like fantastic hi-hat work here, and some of those, it's like more low-key jazzy feels that he does on the drums there. And yeah, Who Can See It is a piano ballad, nice vocals, and title track has organ at the start, that's cool. And my favorite song might be the Try Some Buy Some with Phil Spector producing. I kind of wish he was more on this album, because Phil Spector is in the All Things Must Pass, and it's a lovely song. I love that song. But yeah, it's a 4-star album to me, very good. Living in a Material World.
Nice. For being honest, I wish Phil Spector was on more records. That man is wild. And I know they produced a lot, but I mean,
Yeah,
best case scenario, he would produce most things. If only
yeah.
his talents were equipped to anybody else, for
Yeah.
that matter.
Unfortunately, he preferred his talent over killing women than, you know, producing records. So is that what he did?
I mean,
He stabbed
something like
someone,
that.
right?
It's a bit
I
give and
don't
take.
even know.
Yeah. So yeah, that's bad news bears. But yeah, I don't completely agree with Tavi's pick. I have living in the material world a bit higher, but I kind of see it. But yeah, good picks, you two. My next pick is one I heard. This is the most recent one I've heard, like in full. Oh, actually, sorry. This is the one that I hadn't heard before, you know, we started working on this video. And I was very pleasantly surprised. I thought it'd be kind of, you know, kind of like a throwaway, you know, posthumous release to, you know, get sympathy points maybe, but it's actually a solid album. And you could probably tell because I said posthumous. Yeah, it's Brainwashed from 2002. I believe this came out a year or two after he died, maybe around that. I know he died in the early 2000s. I forgot which year though, but anyway, doesn't matter. Uh, pleasantly surprised. Kind of got a country feel and folky feel. It's kind of more of a throwback to his early stuff, but with, you know, a combinate with like the modern production. Well, modern at the time, the production of like, you know, previous records like Cloud9 or I guess like, you know, his 80s stuff, late 70s, early 80s stuff. But yeah, I think it's solid. Opens up strong with Any Road. I like Pisces Fish and Looking for My Life. Those are good tunes as well. But my favorite song on the album is actually Marwa Blues, a little 3-minute or 3.5-minute instrumental. It's great. Like I was shocked at how much I enjoyed it. It's just so good. I like his more kind of experimental Indian inspired tracks, and I think Marwa Blues is one of his better ones. You know, post Beatles, obviously. Stuck Inside a Cloud, also very good. Also, like one of the bigger hits off the record, according to Spotify at least. I like it quite a bit. I think it's pretty solid. I also really enjoy Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. I'm not sure why. I just think it's kind of an interesting tune. And it ends strong with Brainwashed as well. I also like the vibe it gives off. It's kind of sad a little bit because, you know, this is a posthumous release and it feels weird hearing it, but I think it holds up pretty strong. It's not as depressing as some of Johnny Cash's posthumous records. If you've heard those, you know what I'm talking about. Those are fucking, oh my God, those are hard to get through, like, you know, emotionally speaking. But yeah, this is a solid album. Probably 8.5 for me. Pretty pleasantly surprised by it. It's well written. The production's good. The playing's also great as usual. And yeah, just a solid record. I know these albums come out, you know, because you know the poor bastard died, but it doesn't feel like a cash grab. It feels like a genuine attempt at music, and I like it quite a bit. So yeah, 8.5. Good,
Nice.
good finale to a pretty good discography.
Nice. Yeah, I'm bumping up to 8.5 too. That's still in my 4-star range though. So number 3, going Brainwash. This is a really great culmination for Harrison overall, in my opinion. He took a long time off solo work between this and Cloud 9, and comes back with probably his most consistent set of songs since All Things Must Pass. Um, this is something that you don't really note as much, but you can kind of tell his records are often better after taking long pauses. Like he just ends up coming back with better batches of songs. Despite there being a couple of duds, I'd say Cloud 9 is one of his more consistent outside of the initial run. This is obviously one of his most consistent, and All Things Must Pass. We'll get there. Anyways, I think the guitar really steps up for me on this record, and you could tell that you'd always told George was a good player, but I think that this is the most impressed I've been by his guitar playing since Extra Texture. There's not a ton for me to add about any of the songs. None of them are really among his greatest, but they're all just very strong and add to a really great listen. It just acts as a perfect send off for George as an artist, running through pretty much all that he did in his career, sort of properly saying his goodbyes and whatnot. It's a high 4 stars for me. I can see this going to number 2, getting 4.5, but I think that both this and my next one are pretty primed to rise for me if I keep going back. But yeah, number 3, Brainwashed, 4 stars.
Yeah, cool. My number 3 is Cloud 9 from the 80s. 1987, Jeff Lynne is here producing, and the album sounds great. Jeff Lynne knows what he does, and starting with the title track, love the mood of the song, and yeah, it starts really great with that, and that's what it takes. I love the guitar solo. I think it's by Clapton, and they repeat the title same time, and it's very nicely done. This Is Love is great. I think that was a single, and When We Was Fab is it's a bit psychedelic. I really enjoyed it. Kind of has a little, like if they would do some Beatles song in the 80s with a bit psychedelic flair to it, but still poppy, it would be probably this. And Ringo is there playing. I don't know the music video. I need to watch that. Sounded cool. And also like that Elton John here is playing, and I do love Elton, so it's a cool that they got him on board. And yeah, Tim Keltner on drums again, like plenty of great musicians. Yeah, the almost kind of, obviously I knew that this is more liked, this album, but if I just watch at the album cover, I wouldn't know that would people like this. Because like it doesn't scream like a, I don't know, maybe not a classic album, but like a, doesn't scream like a maybe more mediocre album, but actually the music here is great. But yeah, I really enjoyed this album. And yeah, Got My Mind Set on You is a song I knew, and I love it. So much fun. I'm gonna stay still in the 4-star territory, but because there are songs that are pretty good, but like they're just kind of there. But the highlights are definitely highlights. So Cloud9 number 3.
Very nice. Yeah, that cover is something else. It like if I saw that without hearing it, I thought it'd be like a bargain bin type thing, like a really bad comeback record. But you know what? It's one of his better records, so who am I to judge? But yeah, good choices, both of these. My next pick might be shocking, maybe not, because he had the my boy Tavi had this a bit lower than I did. But regardless, fantastic record. It's Living in the Material World, his second album. I think it's my number 3. Yeah, it's my number 3. Opens up with like the best song on the album. Like I don't think there's an argument here. Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth. It's fucking great. One of the best openers he ever did. And might be one of my favorite openers, period. Maybe. It's a really good song. The Sue Me, Sue You Blues isn't as good, but it's pretty fun. I kind of like I like George when he's a little bit more sardonic and kind of sarcastic. That's the same thing. Whatever. Yeah, pretty fun song. I kind of like this album's theme overall. It feels like a religious rock album, if that makes sense. But like it's good. Like I don't know, like one of Bob Dylan's like Christian albums. But unlike those, this is pretty good. But yeah, I like The Light That Has Lighted the World. That's a kind of a nice, nice chill song. Also, the title track is great. And Be Here Now is also pretty. That is also pretty good. And I like the bonus tracks too, mainly Bangladesh. I'm not sure if it counts overall to the quality of the record because it's a bonus track. It was for the Bangladesh concert, but I don't think it was included on the album originally.
If you want to.
Okay. Well, the boss says so. I'm gonna include it. It's a good album and a good song in general. But yeah, I like the vibe. I like the playing on it. Some of the Beatles alumni isn't on here. No Billy Preston, unfortunately. Or actually, I think Ringo is on it. Ringo might be on it. I'll have to look again. But yeah, regardless of that, the drumming's good. The guitar work's obviously great. It's George. Come on. Good production overall. And yeah, I like it a lot. It's interesting. Not I don't know, explain. I don't think it's as great as people think it is, but I still think it's very good. Maybe a little overrated compared to his other records, but I think it's solid all around. I think it's better than solid. It's pretty damn good. I definitely listen to this again over some of the shit at the bottom, that's for sure. But yeah, also probably 8.5, closer to a 9. I think it's great stuff.
Yeah, I think we feel pretty similarly about that. That's my number 2, 8.5, 4 stars, pretty close to 4.5. Like the Brainwashed. I'm gonna just disagree with what you're saying. I think that this record is really underrated, if anything, because pretty much everybody just thinks of George Harrison as All Things Must Pass, and they think of hating that one song on Cloud9. But that I don't know. I think that this record's pretty unfairly cast aside. Pretty much everybody but Ryan Kramzer would play that number 2. So you guys are also in that crowd, I suppose. But I think that's very strong. It's a much more intimate and closer look into Harrison after All Things Must Pass. One could say it's his first true record after the Beatles, given he saved most of the songs for All Things Must Pass. And he still has a great batch of material. His writing is wonderful, and the guitar playing, per the usual on this record and All Things Must Pass, is just absolutely incredible. Harrison's voice might be his best element, though I could just let him sing anything and I'd listen to it. The title track is the crowning jewel of this record, as well. Be Here Now is very strong. I think that this is just a very strong record overall. It obviously doesn't come close to All Things Must Pass, but let's be brutally honest, there's like 10 records in total that are better than All Things Must Pass. This record, it's very strong. I could see it growing on me over time. And I like sort of the more intimate approach that he went for, as opposed to the heavy, almost grandiosity at points on All Things Must Pass. Very strong 4 stars. Could definitely see it growing up for me. All things living in the material world. Could have been bad.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I guess so Cami, I had Material World one spot lower than you, but obviously you did give a higher score. I did 4 stars. So I'm not totally like insane here, maybe. But maybe I am with this one. My number 2 is Dark Horse, 1974. I almost find it kind of unique in his catalog. It has a cool sound, and it's like there's plenty of cool ideas, musical ideas. It's still like pretty catchy, and I, like Adrian said, I personally don't have really any problems with his vocals. I was kind of shocked how much people disliked his vocals on here. Like I don't know why I don't hear it. It has like a different quality to his vocals in this one, and I enjoy it. It starts with the instrumental Horizon Tour, and yeah, I think it starts very well with that, with cool instrumentation, and like, I think most of these songs, it has a certain vibe that I really enjoy, and Simply Said is a cool song, and some of these titles are pretty like ding dong, kind of like what? But I remember enjoying that too, and Bye Bye Love and The Closure and Far East Man. Yeah, I think Camille liked that one. Yeah, just I like all of these songs basically, and I like it's a short album too. Oh wait, I was gonna say it's under 40 minutes, but it's over. Okay, but yeah, doesn't feel long at all. I have this 4.5, so I think it's a great album. Number 2, Dark Horse.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going to agree. I don't really get the issue that people have with that production. I think that's very strong. So, not production. I mean his voice. I don't
Yeah,
get the issue with his
yeah,
voice.
yeah.
His voice is never the issue with me with these albums.
Yeah.
Even at their worst, I think his voice is pretty solid all around.
Even with that bronchitis, it wasn't getting him down.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, right. Like
oh yeah.
we worked his ass off the whole time. God bless
Yep.
him.
I gotta say, for a brief moment there, I thought you were gonna put All Things at number 2, and I was gonna,
Yeah,
it's gonna be.
that would have been more shocking than Dark Horse being number
Oh.
2.
Oh hell yeah!
I think it's physically impossible to put All Things Must Pass lower than a 1, but you know what? Maybe we'll see. Unless there's some other album I don't know about. I don't know. That beats it. Probably not though.
I mean, I don't know. Wonderwall music is pretty great. So
If you say so. My number 2 is not Wonderwall music, thank God. Because I actually try listening to those records. It's not fun. Not a good time at all. Very primitive. You know it's not primitive though. My number 2 is his self-titled album from 1979. It's George Harrison. I had rock bottom expectations for this before I heard it. I thought it would just be a throwaway kind of, something he did to make money. And when that intro track came on, Love Comes to Everyone, I was like, what? Where'd this come from? And then Not Guilty came on. I think I like it more than Sue You Blues, songs about guilt, kind of. That they're probably not related, but whatever. I like that song quite a bit as well. And Here Comes the Moon, I also love. Not as good as Here Comes the Sun, obviously, which I believe he was trying to, parrot, off of. But I think it's a good track overall. Soft-Hearted Hannah, kind of strange. I don't dig it that much. It's cute, but that doesn't do it for me. What does do it for me is Blow Away. That song is great. I was shocked when I heard it. I'm like, where'd this come from? Like, cause the last couple albums just had like depressing ass, downer songs that kind of that aren't that exciting to listen to. And then Blow Away comes on. It's like, what? George can have fun? That's crazy. And then Faster is also quite good. His a song about one of his hobbies, which was racing. It's cute. You can't really hate it. But my favorite track on the record is Your Love Is Forever. A nice, sweet little song. I think he wrote for his recently wedded wife, Arius something. I'm not too sure. I forgot what her name was, but it's a cute song overall. But yeah, I like the production. I like George's voice. It's great on here. I like the playing, especially that little guitar intro on Love Comes to Everyone from good old Eric Clapton. Well, maybe not good, but he's good there at least. But yeah, I think it's solid, kind of underrated, to be honest, I think. But I can see why it's not regarded as highly because it's that weird kind of like middle period of his career where he wasn't that great. But aside from that, I think it's solid. One of the better albums from his discography, IMO. I think it's great.
Yeah, pretty good record. Don't blame you for that. Now, at number one, who could have possibly seen this outcome coming? All Things Must Pass got a three-way on this one. And yeah, not a ton you can say about this record that hasn't already been said. Many people consider it to be the best Beatles solo album ever. Not quite my number one, but it's right up there. It's my pick for the greatest double album ever, excluding any bonus tracks or Apple Jams, which I didn't personally include, but if you guys did, oh well. In my opinion, it's just 18 incredibly crafted, brilliantly written, and played to perfection tracks. Most of the songs across this record are material George had already written and was holding on to while in the Beatles. And in my opinion, most of it's of higher quality than he made in the band. To note specifically, the guitar playing across this record is some of the finest you'll ever hear. The production by Phil Spector just puts everything over the edge. Try and point out some of my favorite songs: Wah Wah, What Is Life, Apple Scruffs, I Dig Love, and Hear Me Lord. But like I said, this is an album of 18 absolutely excellent, unskippable songs. I mean, it's hard to make a record as excellent as George did here. It's 5 stars. Come on. What else could it be? Fucking like 2.5? Don't like George. No, it's 5. Easy.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Nice. I need to listen to the George Harrison self-titled album again because of Cammy's placement. Maybe I got it wrong.
No, you're good.
And no, I'm gonna have the second cameo there. You're good, man. It's fine.
And yeah, number one is All Things Must Pass. The first one, oh, well, technically not the first one, but we are counting that first one. And yeah, I included it's a triple album because I guess it was originally, at least.
Yeah, it was included everything after Hear Me Lord. It was just sort of their jamming in the studio that they had left over. Kind of like a bonus EP, like Songs in the Key of Life has.
And yeah, the double album of this is so great. And happy to listen to this because I was missing out on this album, except My Sweet Lord, which is honestly still my favorite George Harrison solo song. Love the Hallelujahs and Hare Krishnas they keep saying, and yeah, just a sweet song. And Wah Wah is so cool. A bunch is happening on that song, quite rocking. Isn't it a pity? It's a classic. well, what is most of these are probably classics, but What is Life is too. Love the riff to it, and Tim Gordon is a great drummer. Yeah, there's plenty of songs I like, and if maybe my favorite sides would be the first and the side 4, honestly. But like also the other sides have great material too. I dig Love. I almost have like a Beatles style to it, and I like the drum fills by Ringo. They're cool. And Art of Dying rocks, but it also has like it sounds like almost a disco beat. The drummer is playing. I don't know who's playing on that one, but the problem for me is the Apple Jam. I'm not the biggest fan of the like. I don't mind jamming, but I don't know, listening a double album and then straight up you're gonna listen to another. I don't know how long is that, but you have to listen to jamming like at least 30 minutes, and I don't know, I like it's more bluesy jamming here. I guess I I prefer like more proggy or jazz fusion, jazz jamming more, but yeah, I think that's holding me back a little. I would maybe give it a 5 we if I wouldn't include, but with Apple Jam I have to give it a 4.5. It's not my cup of tea as much as the
I
actual songs.
have to ask, is this record
Yeah.
better than Hello, I Must Be Going?
Never thought about
There is
this
a
is
right
a
answer
tough.
here.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
There is.
Trying to like one is a single album. This is a triple album.
One has Like China, though, to be fair.
I know.
Maybe All Things Must Pass, I would have to say,
Cool, Cammy, we peer
even with
pressured him.
Apple Jam.
Alrighty, cool. Sure. Well, we got that one right. This messing around. Hello?
That's the real first album. It opens strong with I'd Have You Anytime, eases you into it, and then it hits you with My Sweet Lord. Obviously, one of the best songs ever made. And then it hits you again with Wah Wah, also one of the best songs ever made. And then there's gonna be a theme here. I think every song on here is gold, or at least pretty much all of them. I mean, it's got the big hits on it. It's not like What Is Life, My Sweet Lord, which I already talked about. So yeah, just a lot of good songs. One of my favorites is If Not For You, which is technically a Bob Dylan song, I'm pretty sure. But I like the George one better because his voice is, like 90 times better than Bob's, but that's a given. Yeah, I don't think Adri appreciates that, but it's all right.
My shit cut out for like a solid 2 minutes, and I come back to hear you dissing on my man Dylan's voice.
Nah, his voice is good. I just like
Yeah.
George's.
Nah, I can't fault you. I like George better too.
But yeah, I guess the album's length is an issue for some people, but doesn't bother me when you have too many good songs on it. Yeah, but I think cut out some of the like extras and some of the fluff and it'd be like perfect. But I even think some of the extras are great too. I really like It's Johnny's Birthday. It's kind of stupid. It's barely a song, but it's cute. It's a birthday song for John Lennon. Like, come on. Out of the Blue I like as well. Apple Scruff's kind of a weird one, but it's okay. Obviously, Beware of Darkness, good track. Yeah, just too many good songs. It's like a hodgepodge of like all the good stuff that Harrison was capable of, that the Beatles barely let him show. I mean, they did. That's why he's the best Beatle, because he was, well, I think he's the best Beatle. But
Oh, you're right.
yeah, unfortunately, his boys didn't let him, show off too much. But when they did, he outshone all of them pretty easily, in my opinion. But that, Dick Riding aside, he's a really good artist. A lot of the Beatles alumni on this record, like Billy Preston, Ringo, obviously, Eric Clapton, and they all do good work as well. And yeah, it's a superb record. I think it's better than some of the early Beatles stuff, or most of it at least. Is it better than their classics? Obviously not. I'm not that crazy, but
Is
one of us is crazy, not me though. But I think this album's it's so good. Like there's not much to say about it. Everyone's heard it. Everyone likes it. It's a classic for a reason. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. Maybe not every song on here is superb. There's obviously filler stuff. You kind of have to be if your album's over 2 hours long. But what's on here is like almost flawless. Like some of the best songwriting you'll hear from this era of like music history. But yeah, just one of my favorites of all time, and just one of the best ever. It's so good. What else can you say about it?
superb.
Yeah.
My,
oh,
no,
sorry.
you go.
sorry.
You go. You go.
I forgot to say about the production on the album is great too, and I almost like Apple Jam. It's like I so want Hear Me Lord to be the closure, but then it just goes 30 minutes, or I don't know how long that Apple Jam lasts, but
That's why I don't listen to the
Yeah.
Apple Jam.
yeah, but
I get you. I
but
get you.
yeah,
It's one of those like gray areas. I don't know. I think on the vinyl I could be wrong, but I think that it was a separate thing, so that's why I'm kind of cool excluding it. I think, like I was saying, it's more like a bonus EP. But regardless,
yeah.
record's incredible if it's there or not. So I mean, it doesn't really matter. Although I will say, now a record that's like 2 hours 30 minutes, or maybe it's just 2 hours with the Apple Jams. Yeah, maybe that would bump down to a 4.5 for me. I barely like my records longer than 40 minutes, let alone 80 minutes. So, with that being said, though, that was George. A couple of disagreements, but generally speaking, at the very least, we came together at the top for similar records. How would you, out of curiosity, because Cammy and I have mentioned it, how would you sort of compare him to Lennon or McCartney, Tavi?
I think the problem is like I don't know the solo material, but in context of the Beatles, like I don't know, it's either John or George at the first spot, and Paul is third for me.
It's the damn right answer, Tavi. Is the right answer.
But like I was kind of almost confused a little because I knew George Harrison from the Beatles, of course, and then there's plenty of like a wild psychedelic George songs there, and
yeah,
they didn't appear here, so perhaps that was like just a phase.
Yeah, most of that stuff is pretty much phased out by the time of Extra Texture, which is a bit of a shame because he really was great at that. Same with the slide guitar. Like he's just an absolutely monstrous player slide guitar, and it's just kind of subtly phased out as he continued onward, which is a shame. Yeah. Any closing thoughts on George as a whole?
Not much. He's just my favorite Beatle, probably one of my favorite like solo acts, period. At least Beatles wise. I like Paul a lot, but I don't think he's in my top 10 song or solo artists, to be honest. He does compete with George sometimes on some days, but I think George has that spot, pretty down pat. But yeah, I think he had the most soul of his solo work for sure. Not that John or Paul or Ringo, from what I've heard. Not that they're bad.
Yeah.
John's bad sometimes, and Paul's bad sometimes, and Ringo's bad a good chunk of the time, unfortunately. But I think George kind of towers over them, in my opinion. Like all things must pass, notwithstanding,
Yeah.
like aside. Obviously, that's better than most of their. That's better than like half the Beatles' solo discography. But I just think he had the most to offer solo wise, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like All Things Must Pass more than pretty much every solo record except one. So,
Hmm.
and of course, it's Goodnight Vienna by Ringo Starr, because that's just a monstrous record.
Oh yeah, classic.
Oh yeah, or his country one's really good too. Let me say, it's like easy 15 stars right there.
Yeah, what was it? Buku Blues? What was that album called?
Fucking no, it's
Yeah.
solo Ringo. Why would I care?
It's the most. It's not bad. It's fine. I've heard it. It's whatever.
Eventually, I'll do solo Ringo. It's only 20 records, so it's not that bad. It's only double the length of Billy Ocean, so.
Oh yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Alrighty. That being said, though, that was Harrison. Really solid artist, really good discography. Hope you enjoyed this sort of Beatles. This is either going to be part 2 or 3. And yeah, really hope you enjoyed. Hope that you're sane enough to have All Things Must Pass at the top. That being said, really hope you enjoyed. Bye.